Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land. Come and go with me to that land where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land. There'll be freedom in that land where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land. There'll be justice in that land where I'm bound. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land where I'm bound, where I'm bound. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land. There'll be singing in that land where I'm bound.
Good morning, Cedar Lane. Woohoo! It's nice to have a lot of people who seem glad to be here this morning. Whoa. What is that? I don't know. I'm waiting for Abid, too, who hasn't noticed. He's still greeting. Come on down, come on in. Yes, we're starting. What was that game show where they said, come on down? Yes, okay. Welcome. Good morning, Cedar Lane. It is great to be back in the house after a summer break. I'm Reverend Louise Green, pronouns she, her, your Minister of Pastoral Care. First time here in over a month, so that's exciting.
You came back.
I came back. Yeah.
Thank you.
I wanted to. We use visual description for greater accessibility. So I am a white female senior citizen, short hair and glasses, today wearing a green shirt, black pants, pink glasses. I hear a hum in the mic. It's very hummy. Is it annoying? We'll try it again. Thank you so much for joining us in worship today. I invite you to settle into your seats with a deeper breath. And remember that when we gather together, we are doing holy work. In a world that often encourages us to go it alone, we join forces to remember a different truth. We are made for relationship. I think it's worse like that.
Right.
Thanks, but no thanks. Yes, okay. We are made for relationship, and that sounds good. We flourish because of how we choose to be with one another, with open hearts, with curious minds, and spirits willing to be transformed by love. Today, we are going to reflect on some of the foundational stories of Unitarian Universalism, where we came from this together, and why any of it matters, Reverend Abib will tell us. There are countless ways that we navigate the world. We welcome all of who you are today, however you express your full self, gender identity, sexual identity, spiritual identity, you are welcome here. And whatever your disability, whatever your documentation status, you are welcome here. Whether this is your first visit or your 1,000th time, we want you to feel part of this beloved community, joining online or in person on Sunday morning, watching the YouTube in the middle of the week. You are part of our gathering. So bring your whole and holy self, perfectly imperfect, into worship. And now a special welcome to guests and newcomers. If you are still finding your way, we would love to connect with you. If you're online, would you say hello in the chat and where you are coming in from? And if you're in person, would you raise your hand so that we can offer you a warm Cedar Lane welcome? Are there any guests or newcomers? Each week, anyone in our community is invited to fill out a brief connection card. It's a simple way to call. The QR code is on the screen, and cards are available in the lobby after worship. The link is in the chat. After the service, we gather in Fellowship Hall for refreshments, conversation. If you pick up a yellow mug, that lets people know you'd like to chat. If you pick up a white mug, please take a moment to welcome people holding yellow mugs. And as we co-create worship today, you're invited to use our creative listening materials for all ages in the back of the sanctuary. We honor and celebrate the many ways that people stay centered, engage with the holy, and pay attention. So if you need a moment of care, also, our caring ministry team is here for you. The representative today is co-chair Barbara Tomar, who is waving to my left. Yay. She'll be up here after the service if you want to check in. All right, here we go. Finally, if online, say hello in the chat. Tell us where you are located, and if you're here, would you turn to your neighbor and say, howdy, or hola, or hey. Let's greet one another.
Our invocation is from the Reverend Tet Gallardo, who is a Philippine UU minister based in the Philippines. There's my temple, believer, unbeliever, or wild one, you are welcome. We have no definition of who we are but human. We have no code but that of respect. We have no creed but that of equality. There's my temple, identity seeker, sinner, stateless or not, you are welcome. We have no constraints on expression but space. We have no code but to listen to poetry between the silence and the surrender. There's my temple. Nature tripper, urban dweller, or saint, you are welcome. How shall we divide the world but by our breaths? We have no pope above us, no infallible bull. We have no judgment but in terms of harm. There's my temple. History maker, marginalized, unorganized, you are welcome. We have no covenant among us but mutual assistance. We insist on no assumptions and doubt moral facts. We are free to theorize with emotion and call it hope. There is my temple. Unbecoming, expert robe or disrobe, you are welcome. We have no dwarfs or giants. Goliath fell long ago. We have no seal on revelation. Tentative is truth. Lead by your desires and serve by your power. There's my temple. Funny, temperamental, shy, or wise, you are welcome. There is not one way of being human, not even Superman. We have no world but that which we together create. There is as much wisdom in harmony as in dissent. This is our temple. Come, let us worship together.
I'm David Devlin Fultz. My pronouns are he, him, and it is a joy to serve as your worship associate this morning. For those who appreciate a visual description, I am a white male in my early 70s with brown hair and a graying beard. Today I'm wearing tan pants and a patterned brownish shirt. In our Unitarian Universalist tradition, the chalice is a symbol of our faith and the values we share. As Angela Wall and Sandy Dawsey come forward to light our chalice here in the sanctuary, I invite those of you joining us online to let us know in the chat where you are lighting yours. We gather from many paths, bringing many stories, many questions, and many hopes. We light this chalice as a sign that what unites us is not certainty, but the courage to seek truth, the willingness to grow, and the promise to care for one another. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Abhi Janamanchi. My pronouns are he and him. I'm a South Asian Indian man in my late 50s with graying hair, mustache, and beard, wearing a light brown shirt, a black vest, and dark brown pants. This morning I want us to go back about 450 years to Transylvania. Yes, that Transylvania. Transylvania was a small kingdom in what is now Romania. And in the 1500s, people were arguing fiercely about religion. And when I say fiercely, I mean fiercely. Catholics believed they had the truth. I mean, they still believe they have the truth. Lutherans believed they had the truth. Calvinists believed they had the truth. And across Europe, people were being persecuted, imprisoned, even killed because they believed differently about God. And into the middle of all this comes a preacher named David Ferenc, or Francis David. Now, David was a remarkable man. He also kept changing his mind. He began as a Catholic, then he became a Lutheran, and then he became a Calvinist, and eventually he began questioning the Trinity. You know, that Christian teaching that God is Father, Son, and Holy Spirit? Now, changing your mind about religion in those days was not necessarily a good career move. But David kept asking questions, and he became convinced of something that sounds almost ordinary to us now, but was quite radical then. You cannot force someone to believe, he said. You can preach, you can argue, you can try to persuade, but faith cannot be commanded. And so David became the preacher to the young king of Transylvania, John Sigismund. Let's say that together, it's a fun name. John Sigismund, who was himself open to these nice ideas. And in 1568, at a gathering in the town of Torda, the king issued an extraordinary decree. He said, preachers are allowed to preach according to their own understanding of religion, that communities could choose the religious teachers they trusted, and no one was to be threatened or punished simply because of their religious teaching. Think about that. That was in 1568. In an age when people were killing one another over religion in Europe, here was this little tiny kingdom in Transylvania trying something different. What if we could live together without believing the same things, to love alike, even if we don't think alike? It wasn't religious freedom as we understand it today. They had a long way to go then, as do we now. But Francis David kept questioning, and eventually even his fellow Unitarians thought he had gone a little too far. So a later ruler had him imprisoned for his religious teachings, and in that prison cell, he is said to have carved onto the wall the words he had preached his whole life. Neither the sword of popes, nor the cross, nor the image of death, nothing will halt the march of truth. And he died there in prison. But the faith David helped begin did not die with him. More than 4 centuries later, there are still Unitarian churches across Transylvania, some worshiping in the same villages where Unitarians have gathered for hundreds of years. And this story is actually much closer to us than it may seem. You see, Cedar Lane has a partner church in Dicha St. Martin, Transylvania. We have had this relationship for over 25 years. And those bells we hear every Sunday that we begin worship with and kind of brings you back into this space, those are their bells. So before we light our chalice, we begin by listening to the bells of a Unitarian community halfway around the world, part of a tradition that has endured for more than 400 years. In Transylvanian Unitarian churches, you will often encounter 3 Hungarian words. Egy az Isten, God is one. That was the great theological claim of these early Unitarians, but their story leaves us with another question. What if the person sitting right next to you does not have to believe what you believe in order for you to learn more about them, to listen to them, to learn from them, even love them? 450 years later, we're still working on that. And perhaps that is one reason we still need places like these. The end. Please rise in body and or in spirit to sing When Our Heart Is in a Holy Place, 1008. Words are on screen. Well, that was fun.
Yes, it was.
Yeah, it would have been interesting if we had sung Spirit of Life to When Our Heart Is in a Holy Place, you know?
Oh.
We should try that sometime.
This is like worship eval in the middle. It's like, okay.
Well, I thought that was a nice little quirk.
I liked it.
Anyway, each week there are lots of ways to connect and get involved here at Cedar Lane. But first, a special thank you to Angela Wall for the beautiful flowers in our worship space today. Angela, thank you for the care and creativity you have brought to these arrangements over so many years, and for all the years you have served as a member of our caring ministry team. Angela and Sandy are getting ready to move to Ann Arbor, Michigan. Yes. And while we're totally bummed out, we still send them off with lots of love and gratitude. We will miss you. We will.
As we say goodbye, we also have someone new to welcome, Carolina Vrueska. Has joined Cedar Lane as our new social justice coordinator. We are very jazzed about this. Carolina brings nearly 30 years of experience in community development, social justice, coalition building here and around the world. And she also works with Impact Silver Spring, which happens to be our Share the Plate today. So she will be saying something you'll hear from both of us again a little later in the service.
Carolina, we are chuffed you are here.
I know that from the British baking show.
Yes.
Excited. Yeah.
You can get to know Carolina this Wednesday at about 7:15 or 7:30, right after our Welcome Wednesday potluck. So come for the potluck at 6, bring a dish to share, and stay for the conversation.
And speaking of social justice, after the service today, our Democracy Action Team hosts a postcard writing party in the Chalice House, which is up the road and stairs that way. It is accessible entrance. From noon to 1:30, there will be pizza, music, card writing to newly registered Maryland voters, encouraging them to vote. Did I mention pizza? Come join in and write a few messages.
About 4,000 of them. But not all today. We are getting started today. And next Saturday, August 22nd, is going to be a busy day at Cedar Lane. Our choir is having a retreat from 9:30 to 12:30. So if you are a member of the choir, or if you've been thinking about singing, I heard some great voices earlier. If you'd like to sing with the choir, this is a great time to join. You can reach out to our director of music, Michael Holmes, to show up. And then from 1 to 4, we have our annual Soul Circles Fall Retreat in the Fellowship Hall. Soul Circles are our small group ministry program, and this is a great way to meet people and make connections. And whether you've been part of one for years or if you're just curious, you are welcome. RSVP information is in the e-news.
And now for religious education families, registration for children and youth programs is open for the coming year. You can sign up on the Cedar Lane website soon, so we have a sense of numbers. There are also little flyers back there that have the way in to the website link. All participants need to register again for this year. So if you thought, oh, I did that last year, do it again, please.
And finally, if you have been attending Cedar Lane and this is starting to feel like your spiritual home, please don't wait. You can come find me right after the service, and you can become a member today.
We celebrate all the beautiful ways our community life is connecting us. And now we turn to the joys and sorrows that we hold today and share each week.
Let's take a breath together, in and out. Feel where you are. Feel the people around you, those here in this room and those joining us from afar. For this hour, we are together. This is a time to listen to what is moving in our hearts, the joys we want to celebrate, the sorrows we may have been carrying quietly, the things for which we don't yet have words. Within our Cedar Lane community, we remember longtime Cedar Lane member Carol Berteau. A celebration of life for Carol will be held next Saturday, August 22nd, at 2 p.m. Eastern at Mount Diablo UU Church in Walnut Creek, California. The service will also be live streamed. And we hold all those whose names we have not spoken, those grieving a loss, those living with illness, those waiting for news, those carrying something difficult that few others know about. Our hearts also reach beyond this community. This week, we hold the people of Colombia, where a devastating earthquake has killed hundreds, injured thousands, and left many families without homes. And this morning, we hold the people of Indonesia, where another powerful earthquake has brought death and destruction, with rescue efforts still underway. We hold all whose lives have been torn apart by war and violence, all who have been forced from their homes, all who are hungry or afraid, and all who are waiting for someone they love to come home. May those who grieve find comfort. May those in danger find safety. May those searching through rubble find whom they seek. May those who have the power to make peace find the courage to do so. Let us be in silence together. Let us enter into a ritual of connection. On the table just here are smooth stones waiting to be chosen. If you feel moved, come forward and place a stone in the bowl of water as a sign of what you carry: a joy, a sorrow, a prayer, a hope. May the ripples remind us that none of us carries these things alone. You are welcome to come forward now.
I invite us now to continue in the spirit of meditation, prayer, or reflection. Let yourself sit quietly and at ease. Let your body be relaxed and open, your heart soft. Let go of any plans or preoccupations you carried in here. Unhook that garment of busyness and begin with yourself, allowing your eyes to close or soften your gaze, whatever your body wants this morning. And take a few long, slow, deep breaths, breathing in through your nose and holding it at the top of your head, and breathing out gently through your mouth. Breathe in, breathe out. Feel the weight of your own body right here, right now. Nothing to figure out this morning, nothing to get right, just this breath. Breathe in, breathe out. Notice what's actually there for you today. Maybe it's calm, maybe it's tired or worried, or your mind's already somewhere else, at work, at home, wherever. Whatever it is, you don't have to fix it or explain it. It's just there. Let it be there. Breathe in, breathe out. Let your shoulders slump, if they will. Let your jaw unclench. You carried something into this room today, we all did. You don't have to put it down for good, just a few breaths. Set it next to you. Breathe in, breathe out. Feel the people around you breathing too. You don't know what most of them believe. They don't know what you believe. Nobody here has to agree on anything, and still, here we all are, in the same room, breathing the same air. Breathe in, breathe out. If your mind's already wandered off, that's fine. Minds do that. No need to scold yourself. Just come back to your breath. Breathe in, breathe out. Let that be enough. Not certainty, just this. Let us offer now this timeless invocation of guidance and peace from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Asato ma sadgamaya, tamaso ma jyotirgamaya, mrutyormam amrutangamaya, Aviravirmayedi Rudra Yatte Dakshinam Mukham Te Namam Pahi Nityam. Lead us from what is fleeting to what endures, from confusion to understanding, from separation to wholeness. O compassionate one, reveal your gentle face. We bow to you. Hold us in your care. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Peace, peace, peace. May it be so.
all of us by our care and our presence. And the Sunday offering is a way of generously affirming Cedar Lane's mission and the core values we live out: love, justice, open-hearted giving, transformation. And so your gifts sustain our worship, programs for every age, our staff, our many partnerships in the wider world, and your generosity helps us all keep growing as a community of faith. Each week, we share the plate with a community organization. This week, as mentioned, it is Impact Silver Spring, and here's their own short description: a human-centered network tackling root causes of racial and economic disparities. Impact offers events ranging from potlucks, block parties, classes, workshops, where residents can learn and build community. The programs are all built to foster a strong, resilient community and to build leaders with the tools to make lasting systemic change. And the great news is we have Carolina Ruesca here live to say more, our new Cedar Lane Social Justice Coordinator.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Carolina Ruesga, pronouns she, her. For the 2 next minutes, both my jobs at Cedar Lane and Impact Silver Spring get to shake hands. So thank you for the opportunity to talk about how I see my work at Silver Spring, at Impact Silver Spring. So since 1999, Impact built relationships with and between Black, Latino, and immigrant families across Montgomery County. Not by providing direct services like our food or goods, but by creating community spaces where people themselves gather and have conversations. And examples of these, you mentioned some examples, but examples of these spaces are the listening spaces and the men's and women's spaces, where people share their fears and their hopes and their grief, and they hold each other through it. But also we have coffee chats, for example, when we're waiting in lines for food distributions to start, or when we have Noche de Vecinos and we get to dance together and play together. So and our most important work happens when in these community spaces residents get to share their lived experiences navigating systems that have excluded them or discriminated against them or deprived them. And when they get to reflect together and when they get to share their wisdom and their knowledge, that's when we do our most important work. And sometimes that work grows into other things, like creating a soccer practice or trade classes or businesses classes or leadership roles or also created cooperatives. But for Impact, those community spaces are not means to end. They have value on their own. And just like Luis told us at the beginning, that's where Cedar Lane's and Impact's values meet, because we see residents as beloved neighbors. We see them as people that are already whole and capable and rights holders. So on behalf of Impact, thank you very much for your continued support, and I'll be around in case you want to talk about it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carolina, for making it come alive even more. And please support this much needed work by Impact Silver Spring and so many of our neighbors. As Carolina said, it is right in line with our Cedar Lane congregational mission of responding to root causes and building systemic change through many actions. Our morning offering will now be gratefully received.
Beautiful. Thank you, Jasmine. Thank you. And a quick shout out to our amazing AV team that's managing the show today. We have Rebecca and Yash and Khalid and Todd who are back there. Now, Becca is one of our youth, and she has stepped up to do AV. Way to go, Becca. Take that as an inspiration for some of you to say yes. I want us to look around the space for a second. What do you see? You see the flaming chalice, that beautiful flower arrangement, another chalice here, bowl, stones, but no cross, no Bible in the chair, no moment this morning when we all stood and recited some creed, though we did just chant Om Shanti together. And half of you are probably still wondering what the heck that means, or why I coax you into chanting with me. Some of you have been coming here for decades and never memorized a catechism, never had to swear to a single belief to belong. I'm sure you swore, but not to a belief. And every so often, somebody new sits with that for a few Sundays and then asks the inevitable question, so what do you all believe? Now, I used to think I owed people a short answer, an elevator speech, or some nifty slogan. But what I've learned instead is that the honest answer isn't a belief at all. It is a story. A long line of people who refused to recite something they did not believe, and a long line of people who couldn't stop believing that love was way bigger than anybody had told them it was allowed to be. Now put those two together and you get us. This sanctuary, this morning, Unitarian Universalists. No creed, no dogma, but a promise, a covenant carried hand to hand across nearly 500 years. And so, folks, get your seatbelts on, because we're going to spend the next 20 minutes sharing whose hands carried it. Are you ready? Yes. All right. So let's go back all the way to 325 CE. A council of bishops, older guys, meeting in a town called Nicaea to settle what the church would say about the nature of God. And they land on the Trinity. Anybody who thought Jesus was something less than fully divine got pushed out. Now, that should have been the end of the argument. It wasn't. The question of whether God is one kept resurfacing every few generations in people who had never heard of each other. One of them was 80-year-old widow in Poland named Catherine Weigel, who was asked by her interrogators whether she believed in the Son of God. And she said, God has no wife, no son, that only mortals needed sons, and that all of us who walk in God's ways are God's children. These were her words. She was burned at the stake in Krakow in 1539. And that same conviction had already found voice a few years earlier in a young Spanish law student named Michael Servetus, who in 1531 published a book arguing there was no scriptural basis for the Trinity, on the errors of the Trinity, he called it. And so he spent the next 20 years as a wanted man, with the Inquisition after him, living under an assumed name and working as a physician, and a successful one at that, corresponding secretly with the reformer John Calvin, who eventually turned him over to the Inquisition. And Servetus was burned at the stake outside Geneva on October 27, 1553, 14 years after Weigel, on a pyre built from his own books. He was 42 years old. And that conviction found a home among a group called the Polish Brethren, who broke down and broke away from the Calvinist church in 1565 around one simple idea: faith has to be free and responsible and reasonable, or it isn't a faith at all. And so in 1658, the Catholic king gave them an ultimatum: convert or leave. And roughly 300 congregations scattered across Europe within a few years. But the books that they printed in Krakow kept moving, and those ideas about reason and conscience turned up in other places. Now, you already heard about Transylvania and Francis David, John Sigismund, and the Edict of Torda. Those ideas also crossed into England, where Theophilus Lindsay preached the country's first openly Unitarian service in 1774 on Essex Street in London. Among the 200 who had gathered, there was Joseph Priestley in the room, one of Lindsay's closest allies, a scientist, and later a Unitarian minister, eventually ministering his own congregation in Birmingham. In 1791, a mob burned his house and the meeting house to the ground for his views. And in 1794, Priestley fled to Pennsylvania, founding two congregations and befriending Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin, and carrying those convictions to America a generation before there was an American Unitarian Association. And that association came together in 1825, 6 years after William Ellery Channing stood in the pulpit in Baltimore, Maryland, and said that human beings are born with dignity, not depravity, and that reason and conscience have to guide our faith. We marked its 200th anniversary just last year. Now, almost 2 decades passed between the next jolt. Ralph Waldo Emerson stood up at Harvard Divinity School in 1838 and told a room of future Unitarian ministers to stop borrowing their religion secondhand and to find the sacred themselves in nature and within themselves, reading the Bhagavad Gita and the Buddhist sutras when he said it. In the audience that day was another young Unitarian minister, Theodore Parker, who went home and wrote in his journal how beautiful and true and sublime it was. And 3 years later, Parker preached his own bombshell, The Transient and Permanent in Christianity, and it nearly cost him his ministry. Fellow ministers shut their pulpits to him and demanded he resign. Parker refused and gave that same fire a spine of justice, hiding escaped slaves in his home in defiance of the Fugitive Slave Act signed by Unitarian President Millard Fillmore. Boo. For weeks, Parker wrote his sermon with a loaded pistol and a sword in his desk, in case the slave catchers came. He was no pacifist. In an 1850 sermon, Parker described democracy as government of all the people, by all the people, for all the people. Abraham Lincoln trimmed it for Gettysburg. And Dr. King borrowed his line about the arc of the moral universe bending toward justice. In 1865, a Unitarian gathering voted to define the denomination as strictly Christian, and ministers who thought that it was too narrow walked out and founded the Free Religious Association, insisting truth was not the property or copyright of any one tradition. And that conviction found its expression in Jenkin Lloyd Jones, another Unitarian minister who in 1893 helped organize the World's Parliament of Religions in Chicago, the first time Christian, Jewish, Buddhist, Hindu, Brahmo, and Muslim leaders shared a stage before an American audience. It would be another century before this Hindu Unitarian Universalist was called to a UU pulpit in Florida as its own minister, but that's where the door opened. In the 20th century, John Haynes Holmes helped found both the NAACP and ACLU, a militant pacifist who believed a faith that talked about justice without organizing for it was hollow. In 1921, from his pulpit at the Community Church of New York, he preached a sermon called, "Who is the Greatest Man in the World?" and answered with a name that most of his congregation had never heard of before, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, and then spent the rest of his life introducing Americans to Gandhi's nonviolence. And the same conviction showed up wherever it was most dangerous to hold it. Norbert Čapek built a Unitarian community in Prague and gave us the flower communion, and then died in a concentration camp in Dachau in 1942 for preaching against the Nazi occupation. A Massachusetts minister and his wife, Waitstill and Martha Sharp, went into occupied Europe those years to help refugees and Jewish families escape. And UU theologian James Luther Adams came home from watching to be defended actively every generation. That's one half of the story. Take a breath. Yep. How are we doing? All right. So the other half runs just as deep and wide and back to a theologian in Alexandria named Origen, who taught in the 3rd century CE that God would eventually restore every soul, even the devil, back into love. condemned that teaching as a heresy. But the hope didn't die with the ruling. It went underground, resurfacing here and there for 1,300 years, waiting on the right two people to run into each other. And the story tradition tells goes like, named John Murray comes ashore on a sandbar off Barnegat Bay in New Jersey, grieving a dead wife and child and buried in debt, sworn never to preach again. And a farmer named Thomas Potter had built a chapel out there and had been waiting years for someone to preach in it. And he looks at this wreck of a man and says, "You are the one I have been waiting for." Murray argues. Potter doesn't budge. Murray ends up preaching there in 1770, and a movement gets born out of that argument on a sandbar. Now stand tonight, and when he comes out, we will grab him, tie him up, and throw him into a fire. The man is horrified. He says, "Brother Ballou, how can you say such a thing? I could never do that to my own child." And Ballou says, "My friend, neither would God. Neither would God." In 1805, 14 years before Channing's Baltimore sermon, Ballou published a book, a treatise on atonement, arguing that God never needed blood or sacrifice to forgive anybody, that the love had never been withdrawn, that we are the ones who forget it. Hell, for Ballou, was the suffering we build and inflict upon ourselves right now whenever we live apart from love. Now, both these threads kept growing through the 1800s. Universalists, along with the Quakers, were one of the first American denominations to formally condemn slavery. In 1863, they ordained Olympia Brown, one of the first women ordained into this denomination in this country. And when a seminary professor told her, "If only you were a man, I could do something for you," she told him, I wonder what she was thinking in her head, but she told him, "I didn't come here for you to do something for me. I came here to learn." And in 1889, the Universalists ordained the Reverend Joseph Jordan, the first black Universalist minister who opened a school for black children here in Norfolk, Virginia, because he could not be called to a Universalist congregation. And that school ran for nearly 20 years. By the early 1900s, theologian Clarence Skinner was writing that Universalism had not gotten rid of hell, it had humanized it. Poverty, war, racism, these are the hells, he said, we build with our own hands, and salvation means going out and dismantling them. He called the whole project loving the hell out of the world. I love that phrase. Now, when these traditions finally came together, it was not the institutions or the elders that led the way, it was the kids. Universalist Youth organized a national network in 1889, and Unitarian Youth followed in 1896. And they started worshiping together decades before any of the adults thought it was a good idea. And by 1953, those two youth movements had already merged into one, becoming Liberal Religious Youth, LRY. Any LRYers here? All right, let's give them a big shout out. Woo-hoo! All those good conversations and lava lamps and other things. And other things. Well, the grown-ups followed in 1961 when the American Unitarian Association and the Universalist Church of America consolidated into becoming the Unitarian Universalist Association. And then we get into the 1960s. More than 100 Unitarian Universalist ministers answered Dr. King's call and marched in Selma in 1965. A UU minister A UU minister named James Reeb was beaten to death on a street there, and weeks later, a UU layperson from Detroit named Viola Luzzo was murdered by the Klan on a highway outside Selma. A minister and a layperson both killed for showing up. The following year, Dr. King told a UUA General Assembly in Florida that the arc of the moral universe only bends towards justice if people are willing to bend it. And 3 years after that, when Black Unitarian Universalists asked this young association to share power and fund real Black leadership, the promise got made and then pulled back. Many left in the years that followed. And that wound is still being tended. A promise that only tells its flattering half isn't one you can trust. We broke faith then, and we are still working to earn it back. And still, this small, strange denomination kept doing things that mattered. Beacon Press, the UUA's publishing wing, published the Pentagon Papers in 1971, landing the UUA on Nixon's enemies list. Yep. Yes, you can applaud for that. We taught teenagers the truth about their own bodies before most religious institutions dared to, first with About Your Sexuality in 1970s and later with Our Whole Lives. Yep. Our clergy went from almost entirely male to majority women in a generation. We adopted the flaming chalice as the symbol of our faith, affirmed same-sex unions in 1984, launched the Welcoming Congregation program in 1989, and in 2004, the day marriage equality became legal in Massachusetts, UUA President William Sinkford officiated the wedding of Julie and Hillary Goodridge, two of the plaintiffs whose lawsuit made it possible. Sinkford, elected in 2001, was the first African American to lead a historically white denomination in this country. And it is now led by the Reverend Dr. Sophia Betancourt, elected in 2023, the first woman of color and first openly queer person to hold that office. The story has not stopped. It is being written by people alive right now. You. That's the promise. Not a doctrine, a record, imperfect and unfinished, of people who kept showing up for each other and for anyone the world had decided to give up on. So, if you are new here this morning, still working out what you're supposed to believe, to belong here, here it is. There is no test. There is no secret handshake. There is no dunking tank behind the beautiful wall. No creed, no dogma. This isn't a belief-centered faith. It is a value-centered one, held together by covenant rather than creed, a promise about how we treat each other and how we honor the holy as it lives in someone else. Whether or not we agree about God ourselves. That's how a Hindu ends up chanting Om Shanti during the meditation, and the whole room chants with him. Nobody has to believe what I believe. You just have to be willing to keep the promise, to journey together even when we don't agree. Weigel at 80 years old, Servetus at 42 at the stake, a broken man on a sandbar and a farmer who wouldn't let him leave, a preacher in Transylvania, people demanding in 1968 that a young denomination live up to what it claimed to believe, and an association slowly, imperfectly trying to do so. That thread runs all the way to this sanctuary, 75 years old this year, standing on that same promise, asking that same question it's always asked. It runs to whoever is sitting next to you this morning, deciding whether this is a place they can stay. We're not asking you to recite anything, we're asking you to show up. Keep asking the questions, letting the promise pass through your hands the way it passed through theirs, and then hand it on. We believe in that, the staying, the showing up, the passing on, the love that keeps showing up generation after generation, that radical, revolutionary love that will not let us go, let us down, or let us off the hook. May it be so. Amen. 23 minutes. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Please keep rising to sing our closing hymn, The Fire of Commitment, number 1028. Please be seated. Nobody in here is going to hand you a card with the right answers already filled in. Nobody ever has, not since a physician got burned for saying God is one. Not since a farmer walked and waited years on a sandbar for a broken man to show. That's the deal. Here you do not get certainty. You get a promise, and it's yours now, same as it was theirs. No creed got you into this room, and none is required to leave it. Just the premise, the promise, and the possibility. So, go on then. carry it. Amen. Please remain for the postlude because it's a treat.